What's going on YouTube? Today I'm going to be breaking down my NFL mock draft for the 2025 season. This video will be releasing the day of the actual draft. Hopefully some of my picks come true. So without further ado, let's get into the video. I think it's very obvious where the Tennessee Titans are drafting. I think it's a no-brainer. They are going to take Cam Ward. Feel like that's not a surprise to anyone. I think that's a very simple and safe pick to assume. The number 2 pick is the Cleveland Browns. They could go Abdul Carter here or Travis Hunter. I don't like the pairing of Abdul Carter next to Myles Garrett. I don't know. I would prefer the Browns go after a Travis Hunter, mainly because you could use the receiver, and not saying they need a corner because I think their core in the DBs is very strong, but you can easily slide Travis Hunter into that group. So I think it's also a smart choice to go Travis Hunter here. Now, if the New York Giants can get him, which I think they should, it would be insane. On that defensive line, you'd have Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and Dexter Lawrence. I feel like that's the best thing you can do for this team, because offensively, you're still going to suck, but it's okay if you plan on drafting someone crazy next year. So if that's the case, build up your defense. And if defense can win championships, this team is going to be loaded on the defensive line. The New England Patriots, another team where they could realistically go a lot of places here, but I feel like now that they know what Drake May can do, it's best to say that they're going to want to take offensive line to protect him. I feel like that's the smartest move here. So Will Campbell, I don't think this will be much of a surprise to a lot of people. With the 5th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think this pick could go a lot of places. Possibly Genty, possibly McMillan, maybe even a tight end this early, mainly because of your offseason loss. I don't think that's the case. If they're making the right move, I think Mason Graham should go here. Build up that defense. You can get a lot of offensive names in later rounds. Don't focus on them too soon. And you don't need Genty when you have ETN. And I think you're going to be fine at the running back position. So basically, just build your defense up so that Trevor Lawrence can work with what he has on the offensive end. And speaking of Ashton Genty, a little bit earlier, the Raiders have the pick. I feel like they could do wonders with Ashton Genty, and I feel like this is another safe pick to assume. I don't think the Raiders could make a lot of crazy moves here. Possibly, this was a theory of mine, they could pull in Atlanta Falcons from last season and draft a quarterback very high after you just signed a quarterback for a lot of money. Obviously, I'm referring to Michael Penix being drafted after they already signed Kirk Cousins. I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders were kind of crazy enough to draft Shador after they just signed Geno. But I'm going to be realistic here. They're going to take Ashton Genty. He's on the board. Might as well take him. The New York Jets. This one could go a lot of places. But the top names are offensive line. I don't know much about Armand Membo, but he's the highest rated offensive lineman here, so I'm going to take him. A lot of mock drafts have him this high. Safe to say that he's a good pick here. The New England Patriots, this is a team that could go many ways. They could easily go linebacker in Jahad Campbell, or they could go something in wide receiver. I think the smartest move here is to go after Terrio McMillan. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Mainly because Bryce Young needs weapons to throw to. He has Xavier Legette from last year, and obviously he has returning offensive weapons, but clearly those aren't enough. And I feel like if you can get yourself a receiver like McMillan, that'll do wonders. His build alone should be helpful for Bryce Young to throw to. Plus, just help the offense out. I feel like that defense, while it still is a bad team, is one of your better parts of the team. So if you can get McMillan to help Bryce Young, that'd be amazing. Next up is New Orleans Saints. This team has a lot on their plate. They could go a lot of places here. They could go Shadur Sanders. They could go Tyler Warren. They could go defense. And as much as it's looking like Shador will go here, I don't think they'll draft him this high. I feel like you could. I think you need to work with Spencer Rattler if you're the Saints. And if you don't want to work with him, you can probably land a quarterback in later rounds. So I don't think it's smart to waste a high pick this early. Not saying Shador isn't good, but there's also a lot of names to consider. And I think the best name on the board for you to pair your defense with after just now losing Marshawn Lattimore, I feel like you can make up for it by drafting Will Johnson. He's a very good corner. And then you drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry last year in the second round. I feel like that's a great pairing on the defense. And yeah, I think if you can beef up that defense, you'll do just fine for now until you can get yourself a quarterback. The Chicago Bears, now they obviously got a new head coach in Ben Johnson, and he's going to be a heavy reason why I think they're going to make this pick. Obviously, he's like head coach, but what I'm referring to is who he's drafting. I think he will be drafting Omarion Hampton simply because we saw the scheme he ran in Detroit. He loved mixing up Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, giving them split reps and how effective it was. Now, I'm pretty sure he's still on the team, but you got DeAndre Swift, who, in my opinion, I don't think he's that bad. I think he's a good running back for what you're looking for. So if you can pair him up with a rookie running back, I think that'll do great things for Caleb Williams. And he's got his receivers. I think this team knows what they got to do. In free agency, they signed offensive line. They're making all the right moves at the right time. I think this would be a great pickup for the Chicago Bears. And the 49ers, this one's interesting because I've gone back and forth with this pick. Now, there is a world where the 49ers just straight up draft Shador Sanders. And if they were to draft Shador Sanders, that means they would probably trade Brock Purdy. The whole quarterback situation there is difficult. Obviously, Purdy he's in the past few seasons done a lot for the team, so he's asking for big money. I think that is reasonable of him to ask for, but I don't know if that's the right move, considering I'm not sold on Brock Purdy. Now, you could go Shador here, meaning you can trade Brock Purdy. Maybe to the right team, you could probably get a first-round pick. But you're guaranteed, I think, a top 3-round pick. So I think Purdy would have a lot of value there. And a team that could look interested in trading for Brock Purdy so that the 49ers could draft Shador is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they are 100% set on getting a quarterback. Now, I would love the 49ers to get Shador Sanders. Obviously, Deion has ties to the 49ers. He played there. And now his son would be drafted there. That'd be so cool. But as much as I would love that fantasy, I don't see it happening. I think the 49ers are going to get more offensive line to strengthen up that team because they have Dominic Pooney, really good, have Trent Williams, really good, getting older but still good, and Josh Simmons would be a great pickup for them. So I think this is still a smart move, just it would be interesting to see if they took Shador Sanders. And now it's time for the Dallas Cowboys. They're an interesting team here because they could really draft a lot of things. They could go after running back. They could go after receiver. They could go after defense. As interesting of a pick this is going to be for them, I've been going back and forth. I don't know because I feel like teams are going to want to go after a specific receiver that I'm leaning towards, and that receiver is Luther Burden. I don't see a world where the Cowboys would need to draft Luther Burden. You already have CeeDee Lamb, and yes, strengthen the offense, but I feel like it would just, I don't know if it's the smartest move to make right now. So I would definitely consider your options. You could also go running back here, which would be insane, but it's realistic to say that 4 running backs do get taken. If there were to be the 3rd running back off the board, in my opinion, it'd probably be Trayvon. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Henderson, obviously, he just won a national championship and probably is the best running back on the board out of all of these names. Even though he's not ranked higher than these 3, I still think he's better. So it's interesting to say. They could also go offensive line here. Obviously, you could use it, and I feel like this should be the move they make realistically. I think they should pick up Kelvin Banks. I've been going back and forth, but you lost Zach Martin. Tyron Smith, even though he didn't have plans on playing with you this up and coming season, um, he joined your team just to retire. So your offensive line could use some help. Your offense on paper is strong. Your defense on paper is strong. So I think offensive line would be a cool choice. They got Tyler Guyton last year, so just help him and Kelvin Banks Jr. on that offensive line. Probably the best move to make. Probably the safest move the Dallas Cowboys could make. But it's Dallas. They could go in a lot of different directions. I'm not the one in control of their fate. The Miami Dolphins are next. I feel like this is a great landing spot for this player, and that's Malachi Starks. I think he would work so much over there. And you've been drafting towards defense a lot. Last year you got I forgot his name, Chop Robinson. There you go. You got Chop Robinson. I feel like that was a good pickup for defense. So if you can get Malachi Starks, that'd be great. You lost Javon Holland in the offseason. He went to the Giants. So this would be a great replacement. Malachi Starks to the Dolphins. And the Colts are up now. Now, obviously, I feel like their intent is one specific player. And the fact that this player hasn't been drafted by the Saints means it's wide open for them to take. And I think it is the best move to make. Now, Anthony Richardson, whether he does good next season or not, it definitely helps that now he has more offensive help around him. And I think Tyler Warren is the move to make here. Next up is the Atlanta Falcons with the 15th pick. They could go a lot of places here. I'm thinking they're going to go defense simply because Bijan Robinson's great. Michael Penix, in my opinion, will be great. And your receiving core, while it doesn't stand out to a lot of other teams, it produces what you want out of it. So I don't think you need a receiver. You have Kyle Pitts. So yes, he's always been hyped up and hasn't lived up to that hype, but he's still a tight end that still produces. So keep him. And obviously Tyler Warren just left, so I don't think you would have the need to immediately draft a tight end. You're going to take defense here. More specifically, you're going to take linebacker. Now, you have two moves here. You could go Jahad Campbell and Jalon Walker. Jahad Campbell was expected in most mock drafts to go since the Panthers. I don't think they need him. And this is an interesting pick between Jahad Campbell and Jalon Walker. In my opinion, I feel like Jalon Walker's the better pick here. I feel like not because he's the better player. I think it's just a scheme fit. Obviously, Georgia and then the Atlanta Falcons. But I'm not taking that into consideration. I'm talking scheme. And I feel like Jalon Walker would work out more than Jahad Campbell. And I feel like Jahad's going to get drafted right after. So I think it works out for both players. And I think it works out for the Falcons to take Jalon Walker here. Build up that defense. Because once that defense is strong, your team doesn't have excuses now to win your division every year consistently. Next up is the Arizona Cardinals. Now, they recently got Josh Sweat in the offseason from the Eagles. So now their intent is building that defensive line. You have made it clear that you're fine with the offense you have. You re-signed James Conner, and then you got Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray. I think you're going to be... You don't have intentions of drafting offense this early. I think you're going to take defensive line. And Walter Nolan is here on the board. I feel like this is a good pickup for you. I feel like this is a smart choice if you're the Cardinals. And next up is the Cincinnati Bengals. You're going defense here. You are going defense. 3 of your players are taking up most of the salary cap on your team. And those 3 players are all offense in Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. You're going to go defense here. You need defense. You could go edge rusher or defensive line, but you have Trey Hendrickson, so I don't think you have the absolute need to go defensive line here. I think you need a corner. I think you severely need help in the secondary. And the best option on the board is Jade Barron. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. And he's ranked very high. He's a good pickup. You need a corner. So I feel like that's a smart choice. The Seattle Seahawks. Now, it looks like they're going offensive line here. I don't think they need help on defense. Maybe on the edge rushers, because I think your secondary is just fine. In my opinion, I feel like the Seahawks are a team that would be willing to trade the pick, but I don't think I have access to make trades in this. So I'm just going to look at the offensive lineman options. You could go any of these names, or you could go, let's see, edge rushers. You could go these names. Don't know much about Mike Green. Went to school at Marshall. Don't know much about Marshall except it had Randy Moss. He's the highest ranked edge rusher. You can easily beef up the defense, so I feel like, why not? I don't know. I don't like the Seahawks pick here. I feel like it's a pick they could easily trade. But for the sake of things, they'll take Mike Green. Next up is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, he has fallen this low. I feel like it is smart to take him. Jihad Campbell. I feel like pretty simple. You're the best defensive player left on the board. So, it only makes sense. He's going to go to Tampa Bay. They could use a linebacker, so it works out. Next is the Denver Broncos. I believe heavily that there's a strong chance in this draft multiple running backs could go in the first round. And I feel like this is a team that could easily go after one. Now, which running back are they going to take? I don't know. But whenever the Dallas Cowboys had a pick, I made a comment heavily on Trayvon Henderson being the best running back out of these names. So, since he's still on the board, I feel like it is the greatest choice you have. And that makes your offense look even more amazing. And your defense, from what you did in the offseason, this team has so much likely odds of winning their division at this rate. So I think that was a great pickup for them. The next pick on the board is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, nothing much to say here. He's fallen this low. He will go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also, I find it ironic how the pick is number 21 and it's going to Shador. His father's Deion Sanders. He wore 21. I just find that funny. But yeah, there's nothing much to it. I don't think Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe will get drafted ahead of him, let alone both of those names being in the first round. Next up is the Chargers. They could go a lot of places here, but, they have offensive needs. Truthfully, you could go wide receiver here. And the more I look at it, I feel like Luther Burden in a Chargers uniform would be kind of cool. But I feel like you have two good receivers, I could say. Now, that's up for interpretation on who those two are. But you have two good receivers. That can work for now. And you just got Najee Harris, so your running back is going to do just fine. That offensive line is great. Justin Herbert still has a lot to prove, but he's looking better with his new head coach, Jim Harbaugh. So, I don't know if Luther Burden would go here. I think maybe it's smarter to go tight end, mainly because I couldn't tell you who the tight end of the Chargers is. And Colston Loveland's on the board. Last year, I thought heavily that the Chargers with the 5th pick, I'm pretty sure they had last year, I thought so heavily that the Chargers were going to draft Brock Bowers, and they didn't. So I'd be going against my own logic if I didn't think they'd draft Colston Loveland now that they have the chance of getting a tight end. With that being said, I think things line up perfectly, especially for the next pick being the Packers. With the 23rd pick, I think it's a no-brainer here. He's on the board. Got to get yourself Luther Burden. You have no wide receivers that can truly play a wide receiver 1 on this team. All of your receivers, I couldn't tell you at the top of my tongue what their names are, but I'm pretty sure McCole Hardman and Jaden Reed for sure. Christian Watson, I'm going to say. Maybe I do know their receiving core, but all of those names I just listed, all of them play wide receiver threes. So you don't have a standout wide receiver one on this team. Luther Burden definitely could be that wide receiver one for you. And I think that is the best thing that could work out for you. Um, I wouldn't even be surprised if the Packers traded up with the Chargers specifically, just so that they could lock in getting Luther Burden, because I feel like the Chargers could also easily take him. But I think it lines up perfectly for the Packers to get him, and Colston Loveland to the Chargers works out as well. The next pick, the Minnesota Vikings. You did make moves in the offseason that boosted your, I want to say, offensive line. You got stronger, and your defense got stronger. Now, you already got J.J. McCarthy. It's looking like he's going to be the future quarterback for you guys, so I don't think you need a quarterback. Running back wise, you could go running back here, and you could just load up another running back. You already have Aaron Jones. This would make the fourth running back taken in the first round, which would be amazing. I love running backs, but you need defense more than offense. Obviously, you have Justin Jefferson, so he carries a lot of the workload for the offense. You're going to take defense here, specifically interior, and the best interior defensive lineman is Kenneth Grant, and I feel like that would be a perfect landing spot for the Minnesota Vikings to get him. The next on the board is the Texans. Texans, they could go a lot of places here. They could heavily use the wide receivers. You could also go O-line. And if you were to go offensive line, you'd probably go Josh Connerly or or Tyler Booker. I'm pretty sure Tyler Booker is, from my knowledge, the highest rated interior lineman or guard. Yes, it says Donovan Jackson. Or no. Yeah, Tyler Booker is the best guard. Truthfully, you could go Tyler Booker here, or since you could really use the receiving core, you could go Matthew Golden or Emeka Egbuka. I want to see if there's any other team in this draft that has intentions of a receiver, and probably the only name I could say is Buffalo Bills. So it wouldn't be ridiculous to say you want to get yourself Emeka Egbuka, but I don't know. It's a tough choice. I feel like you need Tyler Booker, but I feel like he's on the board. You have a lot of receiver troubles. I'm going to say you go with Emeka Egbuka here. I feel like Emeka Egbuka, in my opinion, is the best receiver in this draft class, even though two got taken ahead of him. I think that's just due to their popularity. He's a very impressive receiver. I think the Texans would love him. As long as he can stay healthy, I think they'll do just fine. They're going to need to make up for their offensive line, but they can do that in later rounds. Next up, the Rams. It's kind of tricky to say what they're going to take here. In my opinion, I think they're going to take defense. You had Braden Fisk, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Braden Fisk and Jared Verse last year, who were amazing for you. They put up insane numbers for the Rams, carried that defense easily. And he is looking like he's going to get traded somewhere. I'm referring to Jalen Ramsey. There's a good chance you could get him again. Now, if you get yourself Jalen Ramsey, you got the defensive line and the linebacker. That's a good defense. So to add on to that, get yourself an edge rusher, potentially. Now, from what I know, is apparently James Pierce Jr.'s draft stock lowered a bit. Couldn't tell you why, but it lowered. And Nick Scorton and Shamar Stewart's draft stocks rose heavily. James Pierce Jr. is probably the best of the three, but I feel like these two will get picked before him. Now, Donovan, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name. Don't know much about him, so I'm not going to draft you. I'm sorry. Again, you'll probably be good in a later round. With that being said, I think... Oh, and you have Mykel Williams here. So you have in my opinion, these three are all probably going to get drafted, possibly ahead of James Pierce Jr. The next four picks are probably going to be edge rushers. So it doesn't matter who goes where. These next four picks will be edge rushers. With that being said, the Rams will take Nick Scorton. I feel like he has a big name to himself. That would work out great. Do they need the edge rusher? Now looking at it, it doesn't say they have the need for him. But again, I think the next four picks are going to be edge rushers. There's nothing you can say to change my mind. Ravens are on the clock. The Ravens are going to take, let me guess, an edge rusher. With that being said, Shamar Stewart, it's looking like you might go here. Your draft stock rose amazing, great. So I feel like perfect for you. And Texas A&M going back to back. I feel like that's awesome. This will be the Lions pick with the 28th pick. They're going to take James Pierce Jr., another edge rusher. Who would have thought? He's good, and I feel like this is where he'll land. I don't think a lot of people will have the confidence to say Mykel Williams is better than James Pierce Jr. Just wanted to look at something. Tyleik Williams is also a good name. Yeah, I don't think Mykel Williams will get drafted ahead of James Pierce Jr. I think the other two were no-brainers, they would. But I feel like the Lions would love to have James Pierce Jr. on their team. And pair him next to Aiden Hutchinson. That's already a scary defense. So really, if you're Lions or Lions fans, you just got to hope Dan Campbell can produce a good team without his coordinators being there, since he lost both of them. The Commanders, they're on the board. I don't think they take running back here. They could go guard and make their offensive line insanely good. They could go corner and make their team extremely good. But I said it. You can't make me change my mind. They're going edge rusher. They're going Mykel Williams. I feel like that works out. Maybe not. Maybe not. But you know what? Now looking at it, they probably could go somewhere else. But I think I love the idea of 4 edge rushers going 4 in a row. Is it realistic? No. But I would love to see it happen. Next is the Buffalo Bills. I feel like here, I want to see if there's linebackers on the board. None worthy of the first round. Sorry. Corners. There's 2. I heard about his name a little, so technically 3. I'm not going to act like I know about this guy. I don't know about him either. I do know about Benjamin Morrison. I feel like he's a cool name. But seeing as how Walter Nolan was from Ole Miss and he got drafted that high, I'm assuming their defense was good this year. And I think it would be in their best interest to get Trey Amos. Why not? These last, 1, 2, 3, 4 picks will probably be the trickiest to decide just because they could really go anywhere. So don't expect these last 4 picks to be right, but I think every other pick has good odds of being on the spot. The Chiefs have the pick. Not a surprise. I think they're going to take offensive line. They're already a good team. Every year that we call them overrated, they just go to another Super Bowl. So I'm going to say they're just fine getting offensive line. Josh Connerly Jr. Heard his name a lot in mock drafts. I'm assuming he's going to go high. So Josh Connerly fits perfect. Last pick of the first round is the Philadelphia Eagles. This is an important pick for them. Obviously, they're the returning champs. Where are they going to go? They could go a lot of places. Now, I would have loved if Mykel Williams fell to the Eagles, but I just feel like these 4 names are all bigger names than this Donovan guy. So I feel like the Eagles are going to have to settle for him. Not saying he's bad, but I feel like you could have done a lot better. This is my mock draft. I have Cam Ward going number 1, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, Mason Graham. The list goes on. You can see it. Bengals, Seahawks, all the way to the Eagles. Now, I'm going to say this. there's a good chance the Commanders draft Donovan and the Eagles get Michael. I don't know. I just really like the idea of Michael Williams going to the Eagles just because I feel like they have. I don't know. I feel like they would love to draft him. A Georgia edge rusher to pair with your defensive lineman, Jalen Carter. I feel like that'd be awesome. But I doubt that's going to happen just because I feel like the Commanders would go heavy on Michael. That's going to be it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like. Subscribe for more content like this. You can check out more content like this on my channel. Like I said, there's more on the way. Let me know in the comments who you got getting drafted where. And yeah, I can't wait for the draft tonight. Hope you enjoyed the video.